Good day, Coach Jude. I am Christian de los Santos from 1D BTLET IA. My role in this video is to discuss the principles in developmental and social factors. Principle number 10, the developmental influence on learning. As an individual, there are different opportunities and it constraints for learning. Learning is the most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains is taken into account. As an individual, we will experience different prospects as well as limitations in our learning. When teaching, we need to take into account the different forms of development, which includes the physical, cognitive, and social to ensure that students learn as much as possible. Like for example, the Piaget theory of cognitive development claims that the children are naturally curious and use exploratory to make sense of the world around them. They discover and adapt to the world through exploration. What is unfamiliar to them? Piaget believed that children's cognitive development brings them from lower to higher mental structure. Social influence on learning, which learning is influenced by social interactions, intrapersonal relations, and communications with others. Social influence are any process whereby a person's attitudes, opinions, beliefs, or behaviors are attended or controlled by some form of social communications. The social environment influences learning by creating a language environment and experience environment, which stimulate the mind to grow and systematically reward a child for learning. One reason why people allow social influence to affect their thoughts and behavior is that we often conform to the norms of a group to gain acceptance of each member, and a group conformity enables a sense of cohesion within a society. The developmental and social factors are influence learning by providing a kind environment. It helps to encourage optimal brain development as well as social connections and collaborations. Or in other words, cell affects learning by shaping children's developing neural circuitry, particularly the executive function.
A good day, Coach Jude. I'm Emmy and Francisco from 1D BTLET Industrial Arts. So, my role in this video is to discuss the principle of individuals' differences factor. The first principle is the individual differences in learning. Learners' different strategies, approaches, and capabilities for learning are a functions of prior experience and heredity. The most common differences of learners are gender, age, intelligence, ability, interest, prior knowledge, learning style, motivation, self-efficacy, and epistemological belief. How do we apply individual differences in learning? Number 1. Differentiate instruction. Number 2. Capitalize on learning styles. Number 3. Incorporate multiple intelligence into curriculum. Number 4. Capitalize on students' interests. Number 5. Involve students in educational goals. Number 6. Use computerized instruction. Number 7. Group students effectively. Number 8. Consider outside placement option. What is the main focus of studying individual differences? Although to study individual differences seems to be to study variance. How are people different? It is also to study central tendency. How well can a person be described in terms of overall within person average? The second principle is the learning and diversity. Learning is the most effective when differences in learners, linguistic, cultural, and social background are taken into account. Learning diversity refers to the infinite variety of life experiences and attributes a child brings to their formal learning at school. All students with diverse learning needs have a right to access a full and engaging education on the same basis as their peers. What is the role of diversity in learning? Studies have shown that having diverse classrooms help develop tolerance and a greater sense of security when in environments with other foreign cultures present. It also helps students learn about other languages and cultures, encouraging them to be interculturally sensitive. Lastly is the principle of standards and assessment. Setting appropriately high and challenging standards and assessing the learner and learning progress, including diagnostic, process, and outcome assessment, are integral parts of the learning process. In an educational setting, standard-based assessment is assessment that relies on the evaluation of students' understanding with respect to agreed-upon standard, also known as outcomes. The standards set the criteria for the successful demonstration of understanding of a concept or skill. In education, the term standard-based refers to the system of instructions, assessment, grading, and academic reporting that are based on students demonstrating understanding or mastery of a knowledge and skill they are expected to learn as they progress through their education.
So thank you so much, guys. So what are the psychological principles of learner-centered learning? So learning-centered is the perspective that couples a focus on individual learners, their heredity, experiences, perspective, backgrounds, talents, interests, capacities, and needs with a focus on learning, the best available knowledge about learning and how it occurs, and about teaching practices that are most effective in promoting the highest levels of motivation, learning and achievement of all learners. This dual focus then informs and drives educational decision-making. Learner-centered is a reflection in practice of the learner-centered psychological principles in the program, practices, policies, and people that support learning for all. The importance of learner-centered psychological principles is learner-centered psychological principles provide a framework for developing and incorporating the components of new designs for schooling. These principles emphasize the active and reflective natures of learning and learners. Why it is important to understand the principle of learner-centered learning. So in summary, learner-centered education helps the students develop skills that will better equip them for their professional careers. Teachers can be trained in this approach so they can apply the principles and provide their students with a better learning experiences. What is student-centered learning? Why it is important to you? As a student, student-centered learning environment used to pedagogy to facilitate student-empowered learning, helping students learn how to set and achieve their personal educational goals, giving students enough room to fail and learn from their missteps, helping students develop their critical thinking and self-reflection skills. So that's all for today's videos. So thank you.